Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, bringing you your Tottenham evening headlines. And tonight we'll be going through Tottenham have not followed up interest of any sort over a free transfer for Christian Eriksen. We have been handed a boost in our pursuit of Bastoni. Ajax set to make an improved offer for Bergwijn, some on Raphinha, Richarlison, and a lot more as well. Before I get into it, if you do like these news updates and you do want to see more of them, make sure you smash that like button. But look, Jack, we'll get straight into it with Christian Eriksen. What's the latest on him, my man?
Yeah, in terms of Christian Eriksen, Dave, I mean, an article did just come out from Football London's Ali Gold, and Tottenham were in contact with Eriksen's agent about a potential move just a few weeks ago, but have not yet followed that up. The article goes on to say that there are 8 other clubs interested in his services, including Man United, West Ham, Everton somehow, Newcastle, Leicester, Brentford, Ajax, and one unnamed La Liga club, all making contact, but Spurs are now suddenly distancing themselves from any talks of discussion involving Eriksen. It's something I don't think any of us could have predicted. Fabrizio Romano also gave an earlier update via Twitter saying Christian Eriksen will make a decision on his future club soon. Manchester United have confirmed their interest to his agent, while Brentford are still in the race. Tottenham are now focused on the right back and the center back, then a striker after 3 signings completed. So, Dave, I mean, by the looks of it, maybe Spurs sort of have their focus elsewhere.
Yeah, look, Jack, I have to admit that this one, it does confuse me, Jack. There were reports Saturday suggesting that Eriksen was about to turn down Man United because it was his preference to remain in London, which started to get us Tottenham fans excited, really excited. Then some reports maybe late last night suggesting that Tottenham had made an offer to Eriksen, which got Spurs fans even more excited. He is on a free, Jack. He is Premier League proven, and he's proven that he can also get back to the levels he was at previous to his cardiac arrest. It provides us that attacking option in midfield that we currently lack. Even with the signing of Yves Bissouma, it would complete our midfield options. It would give us strength in depth as well, which is what Antonio Conte stated on a number of occasions, Jack, that's what he wants. This is a player that Conte has also previously said during the season that he would like to see the midfielder back at Tottenham. He has worked, Eriksen has worked with Conte before, of course, at Inter, winning the Serie A, forcing his way into the team after doing what Conte wanted from him, which previously maybe he did not do. And Conte, there's also comments out there on that from Antonio Conte. So he knows exactly as well what he needs to do in order to get into a Conte team, exactly what Conte wants from him. And again, like I said, he is Premier League proven, Jack. And also, we can offer Champions League football, Jack, which is more than what any of them other teams you mentioned can actually offer him. So for me, I think, it would be a no-brainer for Christian Eriksen to sign with Tottenham, and we would get him easily. Why have we not made contact with Christian Eriksen's agent, but then actually not follow up on that interest, Jack? For me, obviously it says we have been in contact since the end of the season. We've been linked to him as well since the end of the season. But for me, I think maybe this was used as a smokescreen to actually get in Yves Bissouma under the radar before United could get in contact with him. Because as we know, United did make late advances for Yves Bissouma, but it was too late. So maybe that's what this was about, in order so that we could get this guy in. But look, Eriksen is actually on holiday, Jack, after being on international duty. So there will be no decision until he is back. So again, we will have to wait and see what his decision is. But we've also been linked with other midfielders like Weston McKennie, James Maddison, and Lucas Paqueta as well this summer. So look, let's hope one of them can come to fruition. It seems to be that we are in the market for maybe another option. So let's sit back and wait and see.
I've gone kind of back and forth on the whole Christian Eriksen sort of thing. So I would say to anybody, really don't take my opinion really that seriously, because I flip back and forth on the Eriksen sort of decision. Like one would kind of change his socks, I'll be honest. In the case, though, it kind of just, the big question on my mind is what sort of role does, the creative midfielder play because we've already signed, Basuma, we have Skip, we have Bentancur, we have Hojbjerg. What I really have down here, Dave, is that we have 4 players that already can play in that double pivot for the 3-4-3. If you ask me, I feel like 4 players is probably enough for the course of a season. If we, let's say, just continue with the 3-4-3 forever, you probably might have enough players in there. What you want to do is maybe add something a bit different. You want to add a creative midfielder in there. But how many minutes does that creative midfielder get? Like, it's sort of kind of vague. It's kind of ambiguous. Does that creative midfielder really get, to be able to the opportunity to play in a 3-5-2 all the time? Is the 3-5-2 only going to be kind of occasional? So that's why I kind of wonder, Dave, where I always kind of say, I think there's a lot better out there in terms of creative midfielders. Like you said, the James Madisons of the world. Like you said, in my case, I think Sergej Milinkovic-Savic is the best of the crop out there. You could also even look at Zielinski from Napoli. You could even look at, players like Zaniolo and whatnot from Roma. Even, a lot of people like Weston McKennie, who I feel like, I don't know if exactly creative midfielder, but someone that gets you goals, at least, in that midfield. So for me, Dave, it's just the real question that's on my mind is that how many minutes does this creative midfielder play? How often does this creative midfielder play? And if it's not too often, and if it's not, too much of a main role, then perhaps my sort of delusion with getting Sergej or getting Zaniolo or players like that might be a bit far-fetched. And someone like an Eriksen is actually a bit more realistic for Spurs.
I just think, Jack, we do actually need that extra option in the midfield.
We definitely do, but I'm wondering how much do we spend on it is the big question, is what I'm talking about. And what sort of minutes does that player get is the real question as well. That's on my mind.
I agree with you. It's kind of, as well, look, do we have the money to spend on it with having to go for a striker? Maybe 1 or 2 centre-backs, definitely a centre-back and a left-sided centre-back, maybe another right wing-back as well. How much money do we really have to spend big on that position? And that's why trying to get Christian Eriksen in makes sense. It's on a free contract. Look, he's not usually on free contracts. A player can demand his transfer fee in terms of signing on bonus and his wages to make up what the club would have actually spent on the guy. But this time round, Jack, he doesn't really have that bargaining chip, to be honest. Yes, it could be a case that United come in and offer more wages, etc., etc., etc. But at the end of the day, he has stated in multiple interviews, although Champions League is not necessarily the be-all and end-all for him, he would like to be back in the Champions League. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Look, like we said, the guy is on holiday, so we'll probably have to wait another week, maybe another week and a half to actually get this guy's decision. If we don't get Eriksen, I wonder is our pursuit of another midfield over? Only time will tell. But we got a super chat from Wolves F1 here. Big up, my man. I really do appreciate the support. I don't see any other comment in the chat, so maybe it's just a donation to what we were doing here. But big up,
really
Wolves F1.
That, Wolves F1. Really if anything for you, Wolves F1, just a bit of anything, just quickly. Spurs/Wolves hybrid, related. Max Kilman could certainly be somebody that Spurs should keep an eye on. I think for the future, that guy could easily, kind of rock in the back three really well, Dave. Really good, technically gifted sort of player. So Wolves F1, there you are. Max Kilman. I know you don't want Spurs, stealing your players, but if we were to steal one of your center backs, Max Kilman, man. Really appreciate support. Really appreciate it.
Well, a lot of people were asking about that guy before. He did come through the futsal. He used to represent England at futsal, and now he's ended up playing for Wolves. So, look, we'll wait.
He could be like a Dyer left-sided center back. He could be kind of all over the place. He's that good on the ball, so he could be kind of all over the place.
I just don't see Spurs going for him, if I'm being really honest. No, I really don't. I think we have our sights set on more on bigger fish, shall we say? Tottenham Tantrum Gold with a super sticker, and it's
oh yeah, I just have it up there. Just let me find it.
How's it going? Big up,
how's it going? And it's pointing up to the sky as well, almost like kind of with the Guguma sort of fox, kind of emoticon. Big up, Dermot. Really do appreciate it. It's going well, my man. It's going well. I'm pretty sure it's going well with you. Really appreciated you having me on yesterday with Izhan. I thought Izhan absolutely ran the show, Dermot. You just let him, kind of do his thing, and honestly, Izhan has superpowers, everybody. So hopefully we'll have him on the fan show later. But big up, Dermot. Hopefully
big up,
see
Dermot.
You as well.
Big up, my man. Paul Van says Premier League proven is overrated. Look at Bentancur, Decky, and Cutie Romero. No, look, 100%. I think you actually do make a very good point there, Paul. Look, if you look at Romero, I think, look, we should definitely keep going to Italy for defenders. Look, like I was saying in the last one, Italy have been known worldwide, even from my whole lifetime, my dad's whole lifetime, and even his father's whole lifetime, they've been known for defending. They've mastered the art. It's a very defensive first sort of league over there. So keep getting your defenders in from there. The likes of Decky and Bentancur, the reason why we got these in and no one from the Premier League is because we would have been extorted by anybody in the Premier League. These were a lot cheaper options to what we could get, but also
January market.
But also probably better than some of the players that were actually probably available to us in January from the Premier League. You look at Traore compared to Kulusevski. Thank God we went and got Kulusevski and we didn't jump the gun on Adama Traore. Kulusevski has much better end product. Bentancur has completely changed the way we play in midfield. But with what Conte wants to do this season in terms of challenging for the Premier League, now I get it that the players can come in and get up to speed very, very quickly in a Conte team, in a Conte regime. But we do have to look at maybe getting in a couple. For me, I think the striker like a Richarlison, which we will be touching on, I think is absolutely crucial. Someone that is ready to hit the ground running. Someone like Eriksen, who is ready as that other option to hit the ground running. You 5 midfielders up there, all with Premier League experience now. Skip, Hojbjerg, Basuma, Bentancur now, and it would be Eriksen. And basically what I mean by saying that is you can hit the ground running from game one. That would be the hope, that you can kind of steal our march on your rivals. Now, I do know that Premier League teams do seem to offer incentives to their squads at the start of every season to try and get off to a good start. Hopefully, Daniel Levy can offer the same. But I do get what you're saying about Premier League proving maybe being overrated. But, it can also benefit us in other ways as well. And just with Christian Eriksen, like we were already explaining, rather than splashing out 70, 80 million on someone like James Maddison, who's going to command a big fee with that English tax, and Paqueta from Lyon, I doubt will come treat. We've already been burnt from the French league before, so I'd be very, very hesitant splashing out a big fee on him. Weston McKennie, okay, maybe there's an argument for him, but for me, Christian Eriksen would just be an ideal option and is not going to take too much away from our budget. But big up Paul, and then we also have Moondog as well, and Moondog says, I don't want Eriksen back. Well, Moondog, maybe expand on it in the chat, my man, and let us know why you do not want to see Christian Eriksen back at Tottenham. Now, I get it. A lot of people are saying we shouldn't have to go back relying on these players. I get it. But if you look at terms of how much it's really going to take out of our budget and the sort of player we're getting for it, we should 100% be in the market to try and get this guy to the club so that we can spend big on our defense. You getting Christian Eriksen, it means it increases the likelihood, in my opinion, of a centre-back and a left-sided centre-back coming into this club this summer rather than one or the other. But big up Moondog, my man. I really do appreciate the support. Everyone keep smashing that like. As you can see, finally got my co-host Jack with me today. Back off his big birthday bash. But guys, keep smashing that like button. Keep smashing the subscribe button. Keep sending these streams out to everybody across YouTube. And feel free to get your thoughts in at any time with a super chat and keep getting your thoughts in the comments. But look, I think we'll move on to the next bit of news in the evening headlines, Jacko.
Huge ones, actually, and it's about the Bastoni boost that people are kind of confused about. Tottenham have been handed a huge Alessandro Bastoni and Milan Skriniar transfer lifeline as the Inter CEO Giuseppe Murata admitted that the club may be forced to sell a center-back this summer. In an interview with Radio RAI, Murata insists that Inter's priority is to balance the books and try to strengthen the team, saying, and he did say in a quote, that we have our target, make a capital gain from transfers and reduce the wage bill. It's in our interest to keep a strong team because this is the history of this club. We believe Lautaro Martinez is fundamental to pursuing these objectives. Murata also went on to say in that same interview, in the same quote, saying, it's more difficult to replace a striker than a defender. I'll repeat, he did say it's more difficult to replace a striker than a defender because there aren't many of the first ones and have high prices. Probably will be forced to do something in defense, but we are considering valid alternatives if one of our defenders do leave. This is really interesting me today because he is kind of right. I'll be honest, strikers are rare. It's kind of harder to replace a striker, but this is where the Bastoni boost comes from, is that he did basically say Inter are probably less reluctant to give away Lautaro. They probably are actually okay with giving away a defender.
Yeah, look, Jack, now my thoughts on this, there are maybe a couple of things at play here, so let me go through them. Now, as we know, PSG do have strong interest in Milan Skriniar, and we have strong interest in Bastoni. So to me, Jack, if I'm being honest, it does sound like whoever pays more for their target, PSG for Skriniar or Tottenham for Bastoni, they will actually get their man off the back of the CEO quotes. As we know, Inter have to sell this summer so they can raise funds to conduct their own business this summer, but also they have to offload wages as well and balance the books with Romelu Lukaku and Dybala both set to arrive in the coming weeks. And they are also reportedly have an agreement in place for Bremer should Skriniar leave. And again, what's holding up the whole Bremer one is that they can't get anybody in until they offload players. So people then will ask me, Jack, so what, Dave, what is the latest with Skriniar to PSG? Well, I've went and done the research, and it is what is it? So, yeah, Inter Milan have turned down a 50 million bid for Milan Skriniar, but according to reports surfacing in Italy today, PSG are expected to make an improved offer over the next few days. Now, anyone that was watching the one I done on Saturday night, solo may I add, with so many you helped me through, big up. I said the other day that we all know that one kid, Jack, maybe chubby, who was a bit of a bully, who used to absolutely love wrestling, who would run around the estate, grabbing kids smaller than him and twisting their arms up right behind their back. Well, that's exactly what Paratici now needs to do to Morata. We have yet to still make an official bid for Bastoni, but we need to test Inter's resolve after the Inter CEO said it's easier to replace a defender than a striker. So they would probably have to sell in that position. They should be preparing a bid, in my opinion, as soon as the quotes came out. He has played for Conte before. He knows how to play his system. Perisic has also joined, and he could potentially link up again down that left-hand side with him. We also need competition for Davies at the end of the day, Jack. And we can also offer him Champions League football as well as Inter can. Conte wants us to back him in this market. Well, what better statement to make as well by going in and trying to tempt Bastoni's arm? It would be also a statement signing, Jack, to the rest of Europe that we are a big club, that Tottenham does have ambition. So in my opinion, let's try and do this. Now, I know Bastoni's agent has come out and said before that he is a huge fan of Inter Milan. He likes being at Inter, but he's also, and this is the part that I hung on to, but he's also a professional. That is how football is, and we must adapt. But he is very happy at Inter Milan. So it may well actually be a case, if we do get a bid accepted, if we put it in, that he might actually reject Tottenham. But let's at least put that ball in the player's court, if you know what I mean. We are also heavily interested, actually, in Milan Skriniar before, when Steve Hitchen famously went out to Milan, Jack, to try and do a deal, but came back with a pair of Paradas from Milan Fashion Week for his wife. So for me, maybe we could actually make a bid for Skriniar as well. If Inter do not want to negotiate with Bastoni, we also do need backup for Dyer, and that's what Skriniar will give us because of all the reasons I highlighted on Saturday night, which I'm not going to go through. But Dyer has his faults. So I would keep a very close eye on this over the next few days. It's very interesting to say the least, and one that could very well hot up. If we don't get Bastoni, go after Skriniar. But what I would also take note of with them quotes, it basically means Lautaro Martinez deal is dead. It will not be happening.
Yeah, Dave, I could probably be clipped, probably plenty of times actually saying that Lautaro thing was never going to happen because I've said this before. I mean, I was quite aware that Lautaro is somebody that Inter Milan have sort of invested a lot of money into, Dave, and someone that they have sort of seen as the future for quite a long time. They bought him, Dave, from Racing Club over in Argentina, Dave, back in like 2018, and they bought him for 22.3 million pounds, Dave. And when you kind of think about that, back in 2018, buying an unproven, sort of, Argentinian talent for 22.3 million pounds for Inter Milan, like that is seen as a huge investment. That is seen as like a player that they clearly see as a real talent. Somebody that you probably think about, Dave, take yourself back to 2018. I know this guy hasn't been around for a while, but Mauro Icardi, Dave, back in those days, he was probably seen, Lautaro Martinez, as the sort of Mauro Icardi, kind of replacement. And he kind of has sort of stepped up to the plate in that regard. I would probably argue. I think he's kind of met, all the sort of expectations. He's met the talent expectations. Even after Lukaku left, Dave, he still was banging in goals alongside Edin Dzeko. So that sort of showed that maybe he didn't need Lukaku in order to still perform at a high level. There's a lot that really shows, Dave, with Lautaro Martinez, that Inter Milan are investing in this guy. Like they see Lautaro Martinez as the future of this football club. Like I said before, and like I'll repeat, they practically invested in him when he was 18 or 19 years old as the Mauro Icardi replacement. I think he's now, 24 years old, Dave? And so they basically, this is like a 5-6 year project in the making. I'd be really surprised if they were to let Lautaro go now. It just seems a bit ridiculous in my eyes that all of a sudden they would just abandon ship on this like huge, project of theirs regarding Lautaro Martinez. In fact, and like they even said before, Dave, like Morata said, strikers, are probably harder to replace. And, coming from Flat Cap Euro Talk, Dave, I kind of agree.
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, I've stated that many times when it comes to Harry Kane. Tottenham would be stupid to ever sell Harry Kane when all the pressure came on last summer, purely because, and look, at the end of the day, I got absolutely slaughtered for being in Harry Kane's corner, but I was vindicated by the end of the season, and that is all that matters, because I saw it, Jack. I said this many times. You sell Harry Kane, name me a striker you're going to get that offers what he offers. It's never going to happen. Strikers are in short supply, unlike what they used to be. Back in the day when I was growing up, used to be 4 strikers at every club, and every single one of them bang goals. But with now the way modern football has progressed, someone that can play up front on his own and not only hold up the ball, compete in the air, spin his man, get in behind, and score goals, Jack. It's a rarity in football nowadays, and that's why we've always had to keep Harry Kane. And I do not blame Inter for not wanting to give up Lautaro Martinez either. But look, we'll take a couple of these super chats and then we'll keep cracking on with today's news. Everybody keep smashing that like button. What are we at now? We're at 95. It should already be at 200. There's over 200 people watching. It's free. Come on, guys. Drop your elbow on that like button. Look, even just give it a little love smack, headbutt,
Give it a kiss.
Whatever you're feeling today. I know it's Monday, so whatever you're feeling, just do it. Rob Coyne with the super chat says, Martinez, please, Levy, he's better than Richarlison. Play Martinez up top and Kane as a cam with Son and Kulu and 2 holding mids when attacking wingbacks. Now, Rob, I really do like your vision here. I love your vision. That would be absolutely awesome. I mean, I think every single one of us would be going into the season with maybe a wet stain around down there purely because it would give us so much excitement. But no matter what you put in for this guy, you've heard Morata's quotes, as Jack read out in his interview today with Jack. What was the pronunciation again? Do it again. RAI Radio. What was it? That was beautiful pronunciation.
I don't even know, Dave. I probably actually butchered it, to be fair. Honestly, the Italians are after me after that pronunciation.
The way you pronounced it was absolutely unbelievable. My phone's ringing. Paratici, it's off the hook. He wants to give you a job, Jack. But, Rob, with Morata's comments today, look, there's no way they'll be selling Martinez. They've just said it. Martinez will not be going anywhere. And when he actually said that about a striker, he was actually referring to Lautaro Martinez. He was asked about him. So, look, that one is dead in the water, but it does open up the possibility of Bastoni, which keeps the door open, which is crucial for me. Look, I think, with striker options, we're still looking at Richarlison. No doubt there's another 1 or 2 we're looking at as well. So, look, with a striker option, I'm not too concerned. I do think we'll get one. But for me, Bastoni is the one we need. Defense has been what has killed me. Look, it was midfield. We've sorted out that problem. But defense is what has been killing me for the last couple of years. It's been letting me down. It's what let us down under Jose Mourinho. It's what ended up getting Pochettino sacked, and it nearly cost us Champions League football this season as well. We barely scraped over the line at the end of the day. So for me, we definitely need big improvements. And that's, for me, I think, where the big money needs to be spent. But I also believe reports earlier on in the transfer window also stated that, Conte wants to improve the defense more than any other area in his squad. And I get it. Look, you can list off all the clean sheets we kept on the run end to the run end of the season. Fine. But at the end of the day, let's not forget that the goals we did concede, that if we didn't concede, aka Brighton, we would have went into that Arsenal game with Champions League football in our own hands. And that's the difference between getting in someone that is better than what we have, or the difference of proceeding with what we have. So for me, I really like the vision. It gives me an absolute rock on, Rob. But I'm sorry to put a dagger in your dreams. Martinez is not coming. Please do not shoot the messenger.
Don't shoot that messenger, Rob. But I will say that imagery that you just laid out there, Rob, with Kane playing behind, the likes of a Martinez, you practically made Dave, choke up there, for a second there, Rob, with that imagery. So I would say, man, absolutely spot on there. And it's just not going to happen, but something to dream about, and clearly something that Dave's going to be dreaming about later, Rob. Don't get me wrong there.
Big up, Rob. And Jack, this is just a follow-up to Wolves F1 Super Chat. I think this might have been what you tried to say. Neves, in my biased opinion, would be an upgrade on any Spurs midfielder. Hojbjerg, Skip, Bentancur, Basuma. But challenging Conte, maybe he thinks Neves' speed is not what he wants. Jack, would you be opposed to someone like Neves coming in here? In fact, would he actually be a better option than what we're going after in Christian Eriksen?
I think Neves is genuinely probably one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, hands down, Dave. I think that's always been sort of this case since he's ever even stepped into the Premier League. One would even say, Dave, it was almost like his debut season in the Premier League was actually one of his best seasons. You could even argue that's how good kind of Neves was. Like, he really was carrying that team the moment he came into the Premier League. I've always loved him, Dave. I think he probably is worth the prices that even Wolves would accept, because he really is an exceptional player, Dave. I mean, he works exceptionally hard in terms of pressures. He wins the ball back for them. He's a deep lying playmaker. He's a tempo setter. He's so many things all in one player. He also has an unbelievable long shot. I will say he's a bit selfish with that long shot at times, because he really does, love just unleashing one for no reason, but he can hit them, from time to time. I think Neves, to be fair to you, Wolves F1 is worth any price. And he's almost like a Declan Rice sort of player for you guys. Like, if you guys want 100 million, you guys are well entitled to ask for 100 million for him, because he's that good for you guys. He's that good for you. Big
up, Wolves F1, my man. Really do appreciate the support. Johnny Stokes, he's been eager in the chat. He's saying, come on, guys, get to my super chat. Big up, John Boy. He says, evening, Dave and Jack's best Spurs YouTube channel. Well, my man, look.
Too kind, John.
I'm not going to sit here and say that we're the best, but I certainly have ambitions of being the best. That's for sure. And it's with support like yours and all the other 313 people watching right now, which is what will help us be on our way to the best, Johnny Boy. But big up. And he also goes on to say, and he's gone in with the whopper. Absolutely love that. Johnny, you could have got yourself chicken burger and chips meal tonight for dinner out of that, my man. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you,
and
John.
He says, honestly, I thought I seen chicken there. I'm just seeing chicken everywhere, but it's not. He says, we don't need Eriksen. He says, there are young players out there we should be going after, better quality, winning mentality, hungry for trophies. You will only get that with new mindsets in our squad. I actually think you make a very fair point here. Sorry, Jack, you want to go first?
No, it's just he's talking about sort of that, naivete that kind of comes with new players, Dave. They kind of come with a bit of hunger. They come with something to prove, right? They come with, trying to make it into the first team. And I think Basuma is going to be coming with absolute force and vengeance, because he's going to be trying to make that first team. As much as we all rate Basuma really highly, Dave, I mean, he's still looking at, the seasons that, Bentancur and Hojbjerg had. And he's like, it's going to take a lot of work, in order to break into that team. So what you want, John, is players that have that sort of hunger, that sort of drive, that sort of naivete to kind of just feel like, you know what, I have to get into this team no matter what it takes. If that means I have to show up even earlier than Hojbjerg, does, if that means I need to talk more to Conte than even Hojbjerg does, whatever it takes. And he's probably making the point that, is Eriksen going to really be doing that? Maybe not. But Eriksen at the same time, John, he sort of brings that, that wisdom, that experience, that kind of that cool-headed nature. And maybe that sort of, kind of that collective sort of, I don't know, kind of he's been there before sort of kind of mentality, Eriksen. And maybe that's needed. But I don't know, John. I really agree with you because I like, younger players. I like, kind of the players that want to prove something. And as much as I just offered, the devil's advocate argument, Dave, I actually agree with John. I agree with him to an extent.
Yeah, no, look, I definitely do agree with him to an extent. Look, you look at the circumstances surrounding the way he left. Look, although he did put in the running on the pitch, at the end of the day, there was not much quality to anything he was doing. In my opinion, he was kind of refraining himself from getting injured. He wasn't putting it all out there, and he forced his move away. Now, look, I have changed my mind because my opinion was something a bit like what the Outland has said here, where he says Eriksen took the piss in his last season for Spurs. No way do I want him back. It winds me up. But anybody else,
talking point for people. Yeah.
Look, everyone knows now where I get my harshness from when it comes to some players. But look, what I will say is that in terms of making sure we solidify that defense and spending big money on that defense, Eriksen is, for me, the perfect option. Premier League proven. He continued on his tradition of destroying Chelsea at Stamford Bridge this season for Brentford. We've seen what he can do at Stamford Bridge for Tottenham. Remember that worldie he scored? And for me, he's Premier League proven. He's come back from the cardiac arrest. He's had a very, very good campaign. He's gone off to Inter, won something. Get him back in. Even if it's only for a year or 2 years, get him back in so we can use that money to improve the defense. Because, look, Dyer and Davies need to be improved upon in terms of on the ball, in my opinion, and maybe defensively in Dyer's case. So I think in terms of completing the midfield options for cheap, I think Eriksen would be the way to go. But I fully understand what John Stokes is saying here, and maybe he probably is correct.
I honestly, John, I would say 98% of my channel would agree with you there, John, and I agree with you there. So like a lot of people come from the same boat there, John. Big up, great comment, my man. Thank you.
Big up, John. Great comment, my man. Really do appreciate the support. Paul Vanden says, just your new YouTube member. Big up, my man. Hopefully you got the fan show one, and we'll be seeing you on the fan show, which we will be starting.
Got the Flat Cap membership, Paul. He got the Flat Cap membership. He just wanted to prove, Dave, that he is a member of the Flat Cap Army. Even though, Dave, I think he already told you ahead of time that he was. He just wanted to, if it in your face, tell you, Dave, you know what? You can't ignore me anymore. Member of the Flat Cap Army. Big up, Paul.
No, big up, Paul. And look, if everybody grabbed the YouTube membership, we're on our way to 7K. Tempting fate, but we are nearly getting there. That would be awesome if we could get there. But if everyone grabbed their channel membership, it would secure the long-term future of this channel, and we can just keep pumping out content after content after content. And plus we've got big things coming this season, and hopefully our content quality will get 10 times better. But look, Jack, let's keep moving, my man. Where are
we just spoke about the Bastoni boost. Now we're talking about Raphinha here, everybody. In the case of Raphinha, there have been many reports this week linking Tottenham to a move for Raphinha. And it is the case that Fabrizio Romano via Twitter today has said Barcelona have a full agreement with his agent Deco since February on a 5-year deal. But this is the huge part. Despite the personal terms, despite the agreement, everybody, Leeds want 55 million euros. No plan to change their price tag at all. There is no negotiation there. Barca need to be as fast as the other Premier League clubs are in terms of this race, because as much as maybe Raphinha wants to go to Barcelona, it's not like, Leeds are just going to settle for, a lesser fee. Arsenal are also in direct negotiations with Leeds. Both Chelsea and Tottenham have been as well. In the case of Raphinha, Dave, I think he's an exceptional player, one of the most fun players to watch in the Premier League. But I'll be honest, Dave, what I've wrote down here is he's not going to Barcelona. It's just not happening unless they want to pay 55 million euros for a winger that they don't need. So he's going to a Premier League team by the looks of it, and it's going to be interesting which one.
Look, I wouldn't write off Barcelona yet, Jack. Look, my opinions on it.
They are stupid enough to pay 55 million euros for a winger they don't need. I'll be fair, but we'll see how it goes.
They are, but Raphinha has expressed on multiple occasions that the Nou Camp is actually his preferred destination. But as we know, Barcelona are absolutely cash-strapped. They couldn't even afford a Freddo out of your local corner shop. They're that broke. And they will have to actually sell to make this deal happen. Now, we know negotiations are dragging on with United over De Jong. So that leaves a window of opportunity to make our move. And that's where the Spurs' interest comes in here. And for me, if we are seriously interested, start the negotiations with Leeds straight away, purely because the negotiations between Barcelona and Leeds have stalled. Leeds have set out their asking price. Barcelona cannot meet it despite agreeing the 5-year deal with the player. Now, Jack, Raphinha is a player who can play off both wings, left or right, and was a massive part of why Leeds actually escaped relegation, playing 35 games, scoring 11 and assisting 3 along the way. Now, he will offer competition for Son and Kulusevski, but he does not provide the cover for Kane, which is mainly what we actually are looking for. If you go back to the previous thing that we done on Fabrizio Romano, he says at the end, he didn't mention any cover for the wings. He mentioned cover for up front. So it'll be very interesting to see what will happen there. But what I will say is we will actually be selling Bergwijn to Ajax, which we'll get onto, for around 25 to 30 million. So all we actually need to do, Jack, is add another 25 million of our own cash, which we know we're down in the local strip clubs making it rain, purely because the 150 million pound investment. So all we actually need to do is add the extra 25 million to it, and we match the asking price and the valuation of the player. So it won't be a problem. Now, for me, I reckon it will be Richarlison or Raphinha, but it won't be both. This is probably a backup option in case we cannot sign Richarlison, in my opinion. I do believe because Richarlison can offer cover for Kane. He is our priority, and we are looking for cover for him. So for me, I think Richarlison will be more than likely for Raphinha. But if we cannot get Richarlison, but we can get Raphinha, it's not the end of the world, as Raphinha is quality, like I already stated, and he can play on one of the wings, which means then we can just push Son or Kulusevski up into the forward area, even though it's not ideal. Richarlison is a natural forward, unlike a Son or a Kulusevski. Now, we will be in a war potentially with, more so Arsenal if we're going for him. But you know what, Jack? I'm not worried. At the end of the day, Antonio Conte has better pulling power than Mikel Arteta. So he'll sign for Conte any day. Plus, we're offering Champions League football. Arsenal aren't. So if it does come to a case that we are seriously interested in, we want to enter a bidding war with Arsenal, because I believe they've been in negotiations since, I think it's March or May, one of them. I think we win it all day long, so I'm not really too concerned. But like I said, I think, as we know, like Paratici does like to have a lot of options, and I think this could be one of the options if we can't get Richarlison through the door.
Yeah, it could make sense, Dave, because perhaps if you keep Lucas around, Lucas is maybe a bit more versatile than we'd like to think. I know he loves to play on the right wing and he loves to cut inside from there. But if you bring in someone like Raphinha, Dave, what I wrote down is perhaps maybe Lucas has to make that transition to left wing, because he is sort of like a tertiary, kind of player anyway. Like he's not really, instantly there on the starting sheet anyway. So he's going to have to, find whatever position, suits Conte. And if that's going to be left wing, maybe that's occasionally as a striker. I don't know what it may be, but with Lucas Moura, maybe if you bring in a Raphinha, you're more asking Lucas Moura just to switch to the other side, because Raphinha absolutely excels, I think, on the right wing. I think it'd be kind of silly, Dave, to play Raphinha anywhere else, if I'm going to be honest, because he is so deadly out there. And the other thing you could probably say is maybe Kulusevski, train him as some sort of backup number 9. He plays as a number 9 alongside Alexander Isak, for the Sweden national team. Perhaps you can maybe train him as, a backup number 9 for Kane. This is not my preferred choice. This would just be the logic, I would say, if we were to go after Raphinha. That would be my guess, is what maybe Spurs have in mind. But to be fair, though, Dave, I must say, with Nicola Pepe, that spot is wide open over at Arsenal for that right wing spot. Yeah. They don't rate Nicola Pepe. There are a lot of players that, they're trying to experiment with that they just haven't worked out. I could see Raphinha maybe just seeing that right wing spot, being wide open for him over at Arsenal. And that does worry me. I don't see him going to Barcelona, because are they really going to pay 55 million euros up front, which is what Leeds want? I don't see that happening. I really don't. I mean, they don't have that kind of money. They're already trying to sign Kessié, who they aren't even really paying yet. Like, they haven't even really paid these sort of players. Lewandowski, they're trying to sign. I just don't see the Raphinha one happening for Barca.
Yeah, look, and let me just say, I know the spot is open there for the likes of Arsenal if he walks into the club. But then that comes down to the ambition of the player. Do you want to win trophies? Now, look, I'm not saying Tottenham win trophies because we don't. But we have more chance of lifting something next season than Arsenal
That's
ever
true.
do.
What does he want, Dave?
So,
Does he want playing time? Does he want
yeah,
trophies? That's
it comes down to
absolutely.
whether he backs himself and he wants to be able to, compete for trophies. Because we have to remember, Jack, this season could end up being a 55, 60-game season if we go far in a lot of the competitions. So we will have to rotate. It's not necessarily coming up and being backup. It's coming in and providing competition. So, look, if we do go in for him, it comes down to the ambition of the player. If he chooses Arsenal, well, then fuck him, in my opinion. If he chooses Tottenham, then I'll be his best friend. But look, we'll take this super chat from Johnny and we'll keep moving. Quickly, everybody, the last stream we done here got up to 400 likes. Now, there's 427 in-house. That means there's over nearly 200 that haven't smashed that like button. Let's absolutely obliterate it. But look, Jacko, we'll take Johnny's super chat here.
He says, why aren't we going for Lautaro Martinez, another good Argentinian center back? We are looking... another good Argentinian center back we are looking for would team up with Romero. It's a no-brainer for me. I could see why Lautaro Martinez is a no-brainer for you, John. If you were to kind of take all of kind of the rumors, all of sort of kind of the tabloids that, connect us with left-sided center backs, I could see how this one would just be like, why aren't Spurs even looking at this guy? I could see how you're kind of up there because he's a really good ball-playing sort of defender. He, knows how to be able to pick out passes. He's good on the ball. He can carry the ball forward. He's kind of like similar to Ben Davies in the fact that he's probably a bit of a smaller sort of center back that can play out wide as a left-sided center back. He'd be able to progress the ball forward, kind of like Ben Davies does too. I see all the logic there, John. But for me, with Lautaro Martinez, I just feel like maybe there might be other options out there. But I mean, believe me, the stats are there to back you up, John. And, the seeing eye test is there to back you up. So I don't know. It's just I could see why Spurs are looking elsewhere when it comes to Lautaro Martinez. Maybe it's because of the price tag. Maybe it's because Ajax just don't want to get rid of him whatsoever. I don't really know, my man. But when you really look at it without the tabloids or anything, in mind, it is kind of a no-brainer for why aren't Spurs, connected with this guy.
Yeah, and look, we've done very well down the years with taking players off Ajax or even bringing in players that have come through the Ajax academy. We've brought a lot of players that have an affiliation with Ajax to Tottenham over the years and have done very, very well with them. But the last centre-back we got off Ajax, Davinson Sanchez, paid 40-odd million for the guy, and we were absolutely extorted. Honestly, we were absolutely ripped off. Now, I don't know whether they had a video on Steve Hitchen on things that he was doing out in Milan week to make us pay this sort of fee. I do not know. But at the end of the day, for me, it didn't go too well. I just think someone like a Bastoni coming in here, if you can test Milan for Skriniar, considering they have to sell a defender, there's better options out there.
Maybe he signed the Sanchez contracts on that Heineken brewery tour or something like that, Hitchin, maybe in the coffee shops. I'm not sure, John, but I'll be honest, Lautaro Martinez, a great player. I see where you're coming from on it, though, my man. Big up. Really appreciate it,
John.
Support,
can you smell what the cow is brewing? He says Lautaro is now available. Buy him for the cow. He's not available. He's not available, Benji. Jack, the latest reports from Morata, they stated that, they have to...
He's not available. He's not available.
He's not available. It's harder to replace a striker than it is as a centre-back. This was an interview he done in Italian radio today, and basically he kind of just said that if they were going to sell a player, it probably will be in the back line, that they have no intention of letting Lautaro Martinez leave whatsoever. So, Ben, this one is dead in the water, I'm afraid, unless reports have come out in the last 46 minutes stating otherwise. And then if that's the case, I'll be on the next flight over and I'll be doing something with Morata, and then maybe I might not blame Steve Hitchen as much because maybe he is a bit of a dick. But at the end of the day, I think by all accounts, Ben, I think Lautaro is absolutely dead in the water.
I would just say, Ben, you might have a new favorite player. I know you want Lautaro, but just think about this. Maybe in the future we get that guy, who sounds like the Kaufman, but it's Ansgar Knauf instead of Kauf. So I would just say, my man, maybe take a look at that. Take a look at Knauf, that guy from Eintracht Frankfurt, another Eintracht Frankfurt guy. I think you would like him, my man. I think you would like him. Two great similar names. Sound great on paper.
Big up, Benji, my man. Really do appreciate the support. Big up, Benji. We have Rob Coyne. He says, find a good player and him and Kane can switch positions like a centre forward and a cam with a good understanding, 4-2-3-1, and the best managers change formations. Now, look, Rob, you actually do have a very, very good point here again. And look, maybe that is something that I didn't actually think of, that if we don't go for that attacking option in the midfield, at least if we do have another adequate striker here that you can actually drop Kane back to be that creator, the one that can drop into them pockets of space that we need to, especially against low block teams. Especially, look, even if we start with Kane up front and start with the way we usually line up and it's not working, you then have the ability off the bench to change it. Get someone like Richarlison, put him up front, and Kane can feed him. I absolutely love that. But look, Rob, I do have a bit of a rant on Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg coming, to be honest with you. And I'll explain a lot more there. But us Spurs fans do have to get used to having extra players in here in competition. Because
I do have the perfect player for this, I would say, though, Dave. I do have the perfect player for this sort of player. Yeah, I mean, that he's talking about. Yeah. Just
quickly, just to finish up, at the end of the day, you know, not being able to maybe switch things up nearly also cost us top four as well, you know, aka the Brighton and the Brentford games. So I agree with you, Rob. It would be good to have that option. But sorry, Jacko.
You know, he's talking about someone who can play, you know, as a striker and maybe, you know, also maybe plays a cam, you know, whether Kane and him want to switch places, whether, you know, Kane, you know, drops to the bench, this guy comes on as a striker, whether this guy plays at the same time as Kane. The player that comes to mind with what Rob is talking about, you know, someone who can play almost both positions, maybe even play across the forward line. I know everybody's just going to be, you know, kind of, this is a, you know, a bit obvious, but for me, it's that De Ketelaere, you know, guy, Dave, from Club Brugge, because for me, I feel like he's the perfect hybrid between someone who will be able to play a ton of games, be able to challenge for the first team, but is sort of like young enough and kind of be like new enough that I don't know if he would be, you know, like, I don't know if he wants 60 games, you know, sort of player. I think he'd be okay with, you know, appearing in like 30, you know, sort of games. And he plays like as a cam, he can play as a striker, he can play as a right winger. You know, and he can play as a left winger. I actually love De Ketelaere because he'd probably be able to play the position that Kane does in sort of dropping deep, linking up play, being able to also be a bit more technically gifted than other strikers, while also being able to play other positions if need be. So for me, Dave, De Ketelaere would be the perfect choice for what Rob is talking about.
Yeah, look, I've heard people mention that. I think someone put it in under the comments under the Saturday night's one as well about mentioning this guy. So look, maybe it's one that we can look at. I know Tottenham were previously linked with this guy before, definitely looking at him. And then Scotty Hynam,
Black Hat member.
Big up, Scotty. Great to see you as a member, my man. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. But look, we do have the fan show starting at 9:30, so we better crack on with maybe with the last of the news. And Jack, will crack on with the next piece.
We do have actually Chelsea leading the race apparently for Richarlison all of a sudden now, which is actually a bit out of the blue, I must say. Football journalist Miguel Delaney of The Independent has claimed that Tottenham's interest in Everton forward Richarlison is likely to be overshadowed by that of Chelsea. The report went on to say Spurs are among a number of clubs interested in the signing of this Brazilian this transfer window, but Chelsea are now in pole position to sign the 24-year-old. I must say, Dave, what I just quickly wrote down for Richarlison is that this sort of makes sense. I mean, Lukaku is on the way out, you know, to Inter Milan. Richarlison has a bit of that powerful hold-up play, but is a bit probably more versatile than, you know, kind of Lukaku is, which I think actually Thomas Tuchel likes. He's Premier League proven. He's hungry. As much as I know we want Richarlison, as much as I know you like Richarlison, Dave, him going to Chelsea kind of makes sense.
Do you know what, Jack? I'll be honest. I actually slightly disagree here of it making sense. And let me tell you why. Because, look, even though they had Romelu Lukaku, Havertz and Werner were preferred up there as options anyway. Then you also look at it. They've also got Ziyech there, Hudson-Odoi, Tammy Abraham returning. You know, the reports of Raheem Sterling coming in there as well. Very strong links there. So for me, I actually don't think this one does make sense because there's already players in their squad that are unhappy with the amount of game time they're getting anyway. And if you look at Richarlison, he could play probably on the wings or up front. Where does he really fit into the plans at Chelsea? Plus, look, Chelsea is full of posh idiots. You know, it's Richarlison. Look at him. He's an angry working class man. Tottenham suits him, Jack. We're angry working class people at Tottenham. You know, well, the majority of us, or some of us, you know. So Tottenham would suit Richarlison 10 times better. I actually disagree with you that maybe it would suit. You know, that it would suit Chelsea. I disagree. I think they're just making more problems or a rod off their own back. Plus, especially if they're getting Sterling, I'm not sure whether they will go for Richarlison as well. It'd be very, very interesting to see. But for me, I would like Tottenham to just go and pay the asking price for Richarlison. Premier League proven, scored 6 out of their last 9 when in the relegation battle. Turns up when it matters most. Posted very good numbers at Watford as well, helping them in the Premier League. 3 out of 4 seasons, he's hit double digits. He knows where the net is. I really like how angry he is, and I've said multiple times, you know, a lot of people say it's petulance. It's not. He just gets pissed off when he's not winning. He's a born winner. And if Conte can channel that anger on the pitch, you're getting a player that just creates a lot of hassle. As we already know, he's already a bit of a shithouse. But if Conte could channel that even further, you're getting someone in the likes of a Tevez, a Rooney, a Suarez mold, who will just harass defenders all day long, chase down absolutely anything. Can also hold up the ball, go in behind, good in the air. For me, I think Richarlison will be all-around ideal for Tottenham Hotspur, purely because now the Martinez deal is out of the window.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, you raised some good points there. I think what all I had in mind was Thomas Tuchel's system sort of just makes sense. Maybe actually Richarlison was the striker he was going for the whole time, and Lukaku was just the wrong choice. But we're going to move on to Hojbjerg, everybody. And after the signing of Yves Bissouma from Brighton for £25 million, there were reports circulating that Tottenham could be looking to offload Hojbjerg this summer. However, those reports from Football London have come out and poured cold water on those rumors. Gary Jacobs, I even think, went as far as to correct the article and even omit, you know, the part of Hojbjerg, you know, being left out, Dave. I mean, I think you have a rant maybe prepared, Dave, and we have the fan show of mine, so I might as well let you go first. As much as I am Hojbjerg's, you know, lover, I'm going to let you go first here.
Don't worry, Jack. I'll do enough for 2 of us here. Look, definitely a rant incoming. I'm actually passionate on this. Now, Jack, for me, when I seen these reports, I did not give them any attention whatsoever. Straight away, my gut instinct said this was absolute horseshit. Turns out, I was correct. Yes, he had a dip in form midway through the season, but in all honesty, can you blame the guy? He has played nearly virtually every game for club and country for 2 years straight. He's
playing
now
next to Winks.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll get into that. He played every minute of every Premier League game under Jose Mourinho, playing more minutes than anyone else, receiving praise for his performances that season, playing 54 out of the 58 games. And he then followed it up by playing nearly every minute of Denmark's run to the semi-finals of the Euros. Now, he didn't take that much of a break at all. Unlike Harry Kane, he was back for pre-season and the first game of the season. Then he went on to play 36 out of 38 Premier League games under Conte last season in the Premier League, coming off early only twice and playing the second most minutes in our squad, only behind Big H, King of the Lane, best striker in world football. Now, anytime we have tried to rest Hojbjerg over the last 2 years in cup games, he's had to come off the bench in nearly every single one of them games to try and salvage the game and compete in midfield. Basically, to get a grip on games, Jack, that I'd be dominating 5 stone out away, a big mark in my mouth with a blindfold on. It's not on. And he is being brought, he's been brought on. And you ask, Dave, why is he being brought on? Because he gives his all every time. He plays no matter what. It doesn't matter if the opponent, he gives his all. He's a leader, and he will also have a go at others and hold them to account and raise their standards. And he is trusted by every single manager. Also, the dip in form coincided when Skip went out injured and Harry Winks came into the midfield. Now, with Winks, you're talking about a guy, Jack, who was afraid of his own shadow. You know, and Hojbjerg at this time, bear in mind, is just shattered. But now he's having to step it up and do the work for 2 people because Winks looks that clueless in midfield. He looks like someone that's after getting off the waters at Thorpe Park. It's absolutely unbelievable. Now, let's also not lose sight of the reason why we signed him in the first place, because Ndombele would not do any defensive duties, and we were weak in the midfield. We had no ball winner in there, so we went out and got Hojbjerg, and he has done that job unbelievably well so far at Tottenham. Now, let's not forget, over the course of the Premier League era, we have spent large spells having a reputation of being soft in the middle of the park until Moussa Dembele and Wanyama came in, and they are both gone. And he has provided that steal, that ball-winning ability in midfield, someone who has a presence in there. We have all seen how much Winks just gets ran over or even ran by, at times. So it's important to have a combative presence in the middle of the park. And it's where the games are won and lost. If you dominate the midfield, you go on and win the game. That's just how simple it is. Now, we have also had a lot of problems over the last couple of years with attitudes. Players doing what they want to do on a football pitch with the likes of Ndombele. Now, we all remember the video that came out against Burnley with his lack of running around, his lack of, trying to win the ball back. It was absolutely disgraceful. This is a guy who had problems under Jose, Nuno, and Conte. With Lo Celso, there was a lot going on behind the scenes. Most hated person around the training ground, also doing what he wanted on the pitch, just like Ndombele. And Ali was lounging around on a sun lounger, catching a tan for 3 years, posting TikToks and changing his hairstyle, Jack. And also failed to grab any opportunity given to him. Now, all of what I've just said there, you cannot say the same about Hojbjerg. You cannot do it. At the end of the day, Mourinho, Nuno, Conte have all trusted this guy. He provides that steal in the midfield, which we cannot afford to lose at Tottenham. Now, Hojbjerg has been a trusted member of the team under all three of the managers, like I said, but it's also been reported that he's the first in and last out of the training ground every single day. He's a part of the leadership group in the dressing room. And the bare minimum Conte requires is a good human being who is a team player and does everything the right way and leads by example. Now, lastly, the most important point on why I thought it was bullshit and we were never going to let Hojbjerg go in the first place is Conte said he wants a squad that has strength and depth to it. Now, we as fans have to get used to that. If we want to be a big club, that comes with having a big squad with quality right throughout every single position. And it comes with a lot of rotation as well, as Conte wants to be competing on all fronts. So we will be involved, hopefully, in another 55, 60-plus game season with a World Cup thrown in between. We have seen the toll that it's took on our squad last season, finishing with 14 fit senior outfield players. And Conte did not have any options to change things at times. In fact, it was getting that bad that people were starting to question Conte's management. It was getting that bad because we didn't have the flexibility to change things. And at the end of it, like I said, it nearly cost us Champions League football not being able to freshen things up. So bringing in keeping the likes of Hojbjerg in the midfield rather than letting them go, it just means we can freshen up from the bench or in the starting lineup, depending on your opponent, any given game.
Absolutely, Dave. And honestly, I think, they probably covered it all there, but maybe the last little quote that probably people maybe even forgot at the end of the season, Dave, under the Nuno days, Hojbjerg even went as far to say when actually interviewed that he would run just as hard for any manager as he would for the tea lady. So if anybody doesn't love that quote, I mean, how can you not love Hojbjerg when he's saying things like that? But Dave, everybody, I would say just give him the Oscar performance, give him his award. I think he's just covered it all there. I think even Ellie probably be happy, walk onto the stage and hand him the award for that one. But we do have the fan show later, so we're going to cover the last bit of news here, everybody. And we're going to be talking just quickly about Steven Bergwijn. And in the case of Steven Bergwijn, actually, is that according to Dutch journalist Mike Verwij, I'll try my best there. Ajax are set to make an improved offer for Steven Bergwijn. This comes out after Fabrizio Romano said Saturday night that the deal was well and truly on, with negotiations taking place between the clubs. Ajax are reportedly close to completing the sale of former West Ham striker Sebastian Haller, which will free up enough funds for them to secure the signing of Steven Bergwijn from Spurs. Dave, this is the club that Bergwijn has always wanted to go to. This is the club that has been the most interested in him. Spurs have been really holding out for the price that they want for the guy, which I actually do appreciate. They're not bending over, for Ajax at any stage. But it looks like he's really on his way to Ajax.
Yeah, and look, there were also reports the other day, Jack, maybe linking Tottenham to a player plus cash move for Anthony. Now, what I will say, with Ajax making an improved offer, that probably rules out any potential swap deal plus cash for Anthony. So for me, I think you can take that one now off the table. Now, we are clearly holding out for a valuation of the player, which is reported to be 25 to 30 million. And look, I do not blame for Tottenham for that whatsoever. I mean, he's definitely a player that you can recoup that sort of money for. Hopefully, with the sale of Allard, now that Ajax can actually offer us what we want. Look, for me, Jack, just get the deal done. Let him leave. He's stated on multiple occasions in interviews he wants out. He wants to leave in order to play first team football. It's also been reported he's had a bad attitude around the training ground, which we now know that Conte will not put up with. And that's why you're seeing Lucas consistently come off the bench 4 minutes ahead of Steven Bergwijn, in my opinion, despite Bergwijn actually showing better form. And if I'm being honest, he has never actually really nailed down the starting spot on the right-hand side, Jack, which is what he signed up to do when he came here. If he sat there thinking he's better than Son and he was coming in to replace Son, well, then I don't want him here in the first place, because that's just that's just insanity. So he knew he was coming here to compete on the right-hand spot. And despite all of the chances we had given him, and we did when he first came in, he was given so much chances. Gareth Bale has come in unfit, got fit, came in ahead of him. Lucas Moura starts ahead of him. We then gone and spent money on that position yet again by bringing in Kulusevski. So, Jack, for me, I think Bergwijn has been a part of a whole raft of players, in my opinion, brought in under the Steve Hitchen era.
Yeah.
That, if we're being honest, have actually failed us, Jack. They failed to show their true potential and that their ability carries, which is a shame. But we are under a new regime now, going in a new direction. And if he is not part of the plans, we cannot hold on to him for the potential that he may or may not have. But at the end of the day, he has not shown it consistently in a Tottenham jersey when given these opportunities. So for me, doesn't want to be here. Bon voyage, get him out the door.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Dave. And it's been happening. It's bon voyage, out the door. Everybody, we have the fan show coming up just around the corner. The link is in the community section, everybody. You basically have heard us, just chat, about all the things that more or less I think we're just going to continue talking about. As we just proved here, Dave, there's actually plenty, to talk about. There's plenty to chat about. So everybody that does have that link in their community section, hit that link. Come on and talk to us. Dave and I, kind of covered the basis for all the news. We're going to have these sort of, kind of topics like you see right here available to you so you can read off of them, and then you can just chat with us, give us your say, give us your kind of thoughts on all the sort of news relating to Spurs. That will be up in about 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes, everybody. So the fan show, Dave and I are just going to, have a quick break, hop onto the fan show, and we'll be chatting with you guys, the Harris Army, the Irish Hotspur Army. You guys will give us your thoughts on everything having to do with the news that we just broke down for you guys.
And guys, the link for flatcapeurotalk, Jack's channel, is also in the link in the chat here. Just click on the link, get over and smash that subscribe button. But look, I want to thank you, the Irish Hotspur Army, for tuning in. Do smash that like button, smash that subscribe button if you are new. Also, hit the notification bell if you want to be alerted next time we go live with more of these evening headlines, hoping to bring them to you every single evening from now on. And guys, most importantly, engage with us in the comments by getting your thoughts in the comment section below. And either one of myself or Jack will be in there to interact with your thoughts. Before we sign out, we are on 245 likes. Look, let's see if we can get it up to 300-400. And that would be absolutely awesome, as it does help push out the shows in the YouTube algorithm, which we are currently in at the minute. So that'd be brilliant if we could keep going in that direction. As always, come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust. And we'll see you back here in 25 minutes.